Welcome back, everybody. This is Cover 1, Week 7. We are hitting district play. I'm your host, James Bouligny, with my co-host, Ryan Chadwick.
How's it going?
Paul Harris.
What's going on, James?
And Nick Thompson.
What's going on, guys?
All right, before we get much further into it, we got to thank our title sponsor, Whataburger.
Whataburger's Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich is back.
Chicken strips. Chicken strips. Chicken strips.
Ranch.
Ranch. Buffalo. Ranch. Monterey Jack cheese.
The Whataburger Buffalo Ranch Chicken Strip Sandwich. A beautiful masterpiece.
All right, Central was off last week. They are back on this week. They are taking on Midland Legacy Rebels. Chadwick, you want to go ahead and discuss this one? They're your favorite team.
Yeah, well, I am a Central Bobcat, so it makes sense.
Congratulations.
You know, but if you would have asked me last year if the Bobcats would be sitting at 3-2 at this point in the season this time around, I would have told you, A, I don't believe it, and B, I'd be really happy about it. So the Bobcats are officially done with their non-district schedule. Came out of this one 3-2. Could have easily been 4-1 if you just show up and play Amarillo High in a second quarter. But headed into district now against a very talented Midland Legacy team who has gone through an absolute gauntlet during the non-district schedule. They've scheduled some of the premier Texas football 6A powerhouses in the state. Between like Allen, Euless Trinity, Lake Travis, and so they have a 1-4 record, but it's completely understandable. And Coach Hartman up there, obviously put this schedule together to get his team ready for the playoffs, rather than to make his kids feel good about an easier non-district schedule. So Central's going to have it really tough in this one, even though they're 3-2 and they're improved from a year ago. This is still Midland Legacy, and I know that Legacy's replacing a quarterback, replacing a running back, replacing a couple pieces on the offensive line.
Yeah, D1 quarterback, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, but still, this is a team that's still very capable of scoring. Legacy beat Albany High, and that should speak for itself, and they didn't just beat them by a touchdown either. I think the final score in that one was 62-42, so this should be a very, very exciting game. But if the Bobcats do not play absolutely perfect football, they're not going to win.
All right, Paul, what do you think?
It's a tough matchup for Central. Just so they got the 3-game winning streak going. It might have been nice if they could have opened up with anybody else besides Midland Legacy, But at the same time, Central's got as much confidence as you could have hoped for, considering where they began this year. They've rebounded in a huge way. And so, do I think that they're ready to beat Legacy? I don't. They lost by 42 to them last year. I do think it'll be way closer this time. And if Central, like Ryan said, if they play the perfect game, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could hang around in the fourth quarter and maybe pull off an upset.
Take care of the football. Don't turn it over, and that's your best bet. Control the clock. Don't turn the football over.
Yeah, who would have thought you control the clock, don't turn the football over, and just handle business? Just go out and win and be perfect.
Just go out.
Why is that hard?
Go out and win games.
Yeah, just go win. You try to do that all the time, so that should just be the default. All right, we're going to move on, though. Before we move on, we got to thank a sponsor real fast. Jabber, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I got this one. So this segment has been brought to you by Angelo Bolt. Since 1994, Angelo Bolt and Industrial Supply has served the Concho Valley for 30 years and counting. Angelo Bolt is the go-to place for fasteners, power tools, air compressors, safety equipment, and everything in between. Chances are Angelo Bolt will always have what you need when you need it, and in that odd chance that they don't have exactly what you're looking for, they'll find it fast. No request is too big or too small for Angelo Bolt, located at 808 Warehouse Road, where customer service is their top priority. Thank you, Angelo Bolt, for bringing us all our coverage in the Concho Valley.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about Lubbock High, Lubbock Monterey. Nick, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, so this is the Lowry Field Battle of the Silver Spur matchup here. Monterey last week won against Coronado. This is their first win, 7 games on the road. I talked to Coach Thrash, and he said that team went through some adversity training last week, and kind of hope they kind of reflect that this week against Lubbock High. Now, Lubbock High had a tough loss against Tascosa last week, I think 56-7. and it made making them their lowest scoring game of the season so far. But I genuinely think this game is going to be kind of boots on the ground here. It might be a pretty fast game because I think Luke Arrington is going to kind of hand off to Des Williams and Kyrie Baxter for majority of the game. And then on the flip side, same with Lubbock High. I think Braden Duckerson's going to kind of take control of that offense as well.
All right, in this one, Nick, I know Lubbock High's having one of their best starts since the early 2000s, but after last week against Tascosa, it's got to have shaken the confidence of the Westerners just a little bit. What's it going to take for Lubbock High to not only compete, but to beat a historically lopsided matchup at this point against Monterey?
I think they, obviously with the reduction of some penalties, I think they just need to step up on the defensive side of the ball. That way they're pretty much just focused on that offense side. I think Monterey's going to take this. I honestly, truly do. I think they're just the stronger powerhouse team. They played some pretty tough teams in the beginning of their season as well. So Lubbock High has kind of had it, I don't want to say easy, but they've kind of had some tough recent matchups. So I think I'm going to take Monterey on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to just echo that real quick. The difference between non-district schedules cannot be ignored because while Lubbock High was facing off a bunch of their opponents that was in their 4A district last year, back when they were still down in the 4A, Lubbock Monterey completely flipped the script. They played one of the powerhouses in Oklahoma. They played a 6A Odessa High team. They even in their first district game against Amarillo, they were winning that game and they kind of gave it away, kind of indicative of what the Monterey season has been this year. And the same thing happened against Odessa High, but I think Monterey has the advantage in this one, and it's kind of like the Central Midland Legacy matchup where if Lubbock High doesn't play perfect, I don't think they're going to win this game.
You getting it?
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I definitely agree with that. Yep.
All right. Moving back to the Concho Valley, we have a couple Concho Valley schools taking on a couple schools that are maybe in the plains and the big country. The first one we're going to talk about is Miles and Albany. Miles is playing in Albany. Our man Paul Harris is going to be there. Paul, what do you think of this matchup real fast?
It looks pretty exciting. Miles has such a great offense and one of the best weapons in the Concho Valley with Cooper Ellison. This looks like it very well could be the district title game. The main thing is Albany has just dominated this series. They've played 8 times, and Miles has never been closer than 30 points. Even last year when Miles is an 8-win team, they still lost 41-0. So Albany looks as vulnerable as they ever probably have for Miles. They had a rough start to the year. They have bounced back with 3 straight wins. They had a 27-17 win over Anson last week. So possibly Miles could compete with them, but they just have not been close yet. And until I see it, it's hard to believe it. But I'll be rooting for a good game in Albany on Friday. That's for sure.
We disagree on this. I think Miles I think their offense is loaded this year. Yes, they lost Haven Book, but Liam Yancey has proved to be more than capable. Throwing to Cooper Ellison, if Tevin Mead is back, I definitely think Miles is the team to beat in that district. But they played Jalen Torres at running back against Ozona, and he had 120 yards on the ground. And he's a receiver playing running back. The only thing is this Miles offense is going up against an Albany defense that I think has 20 sacks. I think 2 players, Zane Green and Coy Flowers, I want to say, have 5 sacks apiece. Bellington on the back end of that defense has 3 interceptions. So it's going to be big for Miles to try to not turn the ball over. Yancey has to be on, and he's been pretty on for the season. I think he's got 15 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions. And one of those came, trying to force the ball down the field against Ozona. But it's really going to be that Miles offense versus this Albany defense, I think. I think you flip it. I think the Albany offense, I don't think their quarterback has quite the numbers. I think he's got 500 yards. Their running back has almost 700 yards and 10 touchdowns. So I think it's Branson Beals, their running back out there in Albany. So I really think if that Miles defense can clamp down and, really limit this game to just keeping it on the ground, 1, and keep the clock running, and 2, Miles can score from anywhere on the field. I mean, we've seen Cooper Ellison take 199 yards this year.
Right.
So they can score from anywhere, but they have to get that lead and they have to hold that lead. Because like Ozona, you can't be up 2 scores and then give up 2 scores and then the game, the game-winning touchdown on, to Christian Villarreal on the outside. You can't do that. These games are big. These are district games. They matter. Miles has to control the clock. They have to control the entire game with their offense, and their defense has to limit the Albany offense as much as they can.
To your point, James, I know that Yancey's been basically playing out of his mind to start the year, but he is a sophomore, and he is going up against the back-to-back defending state champion Albany Lions, and their strength has always been that defense, and that defense is back. Do you think his youth might actually catch up with him in this game, or do you think it's going to be one of those where it's going to have to be an offensive sprint for the young man?
No, I think he's played extremely well so far, so I don't have any reason to believe why that would, why he would just all of a sudden, have a lay an egg out there. He's got experienced weapons. Cooper Ellison's a senior. He's got, I think, a senior running back. They have a bunch of experience around him to help mitigate any of those, sophomore mistakes he might make out there. So the offense has to play who they are. They're the Miles Bulldogs. They're going to go out. They're going to put up a ton of points. They can score from anywhere. And the defense has to limit. And their defense has been playing pretty good too. But once you get that 2-score lead, you can't give it up. So they have to play sound defense all the way across the board for the entire game. Because Albany, they're not the same team they were last year. Adam Hill was, he was a Texas Tech commit. He had incredible numbers, and I think he might even been a better defensive player than he was running back. So he's not there. They lost a couple other pieces. The Miles offense needs to control this game, and they need to give their defense as much of a lead as they can in case Albany does pop one off. All right, but moving on to Forsan and Sonora, another 2A game. This is a big 2A game. Forsan is not the team they were last year. They're 0-5, and it's hard to get a read on them this year. And Sonora, they've kind of figured things out at quarterback. They've moved Aaron Segura back there at quarterback. He's been playing extremely well. He's another sophomore. Cam Aguero seems to be his favorite weapon downfield. They have a ton of speed on that Sonora offense. Paul, what do you think?
It's crazy because 6 weeks ago, this was the district title game. Texas football had Forsan number 1, Sonora number 2, and now I don't know if either one of these teams will finish in the top 2. Honestly, you got Ozona and Reagan County both at 4-1. That could be the district title game now. But like you said, Forsan is hard to read. I don't know what to think about them. They had a tough schedule, no doubt. They're scheduled 21-4 combined records. They played a tough schedule, but they've also been blown out the last 2 games. So we're going to find out. Just have they fallen off? Are there some injuries affecting them? I don't know what's going on out there, but we definitely expect them to be better. And Sonora has bounced back from the tough start with 3 straight wins. Like you said, Segura settled the passing game. So I think Sonora's going to win this matchup.
Well, even like Stockton is back. The running back out there at Forsan is back. So I thought, they're just going to hand it off to him, and they're going to let him carry the load. And it just hasn't. It hasn't produced in the wins and losses. It's just produced losses. We haven't seen wins from Forsan, which is odd to say because Forsan usually has a very solid team. I'm sure they are probably a solid team. We just haven't seen much of them. So, what does Sonora get coming into this? Are they flying into this blind? I'm sure. They've seen film, but they're kind of a new team too. They lost a lot on their offensive line. They lost quarterback. Lost Edgar DeLuna at running back. So they got a lot of backups who were backups last year who are starting this year. So what might have started off as like a revenge game because Sonora, Forsan beat them last year, and there were some hits that could have went one way or the other, and what you're thinking is, this is the ultimate revenge game. It might just kind of be a fresh slate for both these teams going into it.
Yeah, I think it's a wide open district race. I really do. It's going to be probably maybe one of the most fascinating districts we have. It wouldn't surprise me if any one of these 4 teams, Ozona and Reagan County in there, end up winning it. And it would stun me if Forsan, came back and won it. They're still a good program, I feel like. So it's going to be a fun district race.
Yeah, and you want to talk about the district they play when they get to the playoffs is the Hawley, Stanford, Cisco, Anthony district. All 4 of those teams are really, really good. That's for the future, though. Moving on, it's Lakeview's homecoming. The Chiefs are taking on Brownfield here at San Angelo Stadium. Chris Avizo has been playing extremely well. Braylon White seems to be one of his favorite targets downfield. And Brownfield, having kind of a tough year. I don't want to say they just haven't been able to put anything together in the win column. And Lakeview has a really good chance to get a victory here on their homecoming for the 2024 season. What do y'all think?
You say a really good chance. Like, I'm not saying it's almost a foregone conclusion, but with how explosive Lakeview is, they should win this game. Like, they should win this game. I'm all in on the Chiefs this week.
All right, Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, it's good for them to be home. They had a tough 3-game road trip, playing some tough teams like Burnett, and all long road trips too. So it's good for them to be back at home. They've played well at home, and like Ryan said, they have a great offense. If they could just play decent on defense, that they should have enough firepower to take down Brownfield.
Nick, do you have anything you'd like to add to the Brownfield Lakeview conversation here?
I've seen Lakeview play once, especially with their homecoming and the way their matchup is against Brownfield. I'm with Ryan there. They need to win this game. I think that's going to be good for them.
I think so as well. All right, moving on. We got to thank a sponsor real fast. For any banking needs, go to Texas Bank. Proven local and strong style customers referred Texas Bank, one of the most successful banks in the Lone Star State. Texas Bank is a full-service bank with over $2 billion in assets, and they operate in 16 locations from El Paso to Dallas-Fort Worth, including 3 right here in San Angelo, located at 2201 Sherwood Way, 1815 North Chadburn, and 4206 College Hills. Texas Bank staff are your friends, family, and neighbors. All right, moving on. Players of the week. Last week, a lot of teams had off, but we still had Wall playing. We had Grape Creek blowing a team out. And we have some Lubbock Monterey Matadors, right?
Plainsmen.
I'm sorry, Lubbock. My bad.
You're thinking estacado.
My bad. Thomas Lianos from Wall had 19 carries for 132 yards and a touchdown against 4-1 Idalou. Paul, you seem to think Ethan Mikulowicz might have been pretty fired up out there.
Man, he was incredible. That Wall defense was so awesome, and he, to me, seemed kind of like the heart and soul of the defense. He was just all over the place. Briggs Jones, too, his athleticism just jumped off the field. 2 great picks, one of which got to stand. The other one got called back, a bit controversially.
I'm sorry, I have to say something. Briggs, you could not have played that play any more perfectly. That was textbook, perfect defensive back coverage, and you got the pick. I know that none of your coaches were on your case after that, but I just had to. That fired me up. I played corner and back in the day, and I wish I could have covered a guy like that sometimes. But yeah, awesome play. Should not have been pass interference.
I will say though, what if the pass interference was on another player and they just called it on Briggs? On that play,
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, man.
I'm not sure, but Briggs Jones, the one that did stand, it may have even been a better pick. He just came out of nowhere and ball hawked it, got both feet down on the sideline. Well, I guess he only needed 1 foot on the sideline, but an incredible play in his athleticism back there in the secondary. Then Mikulowicz in the middle, and then the defensive line with Brylan White and Lane Stansberry. Stansberry, that Wall defense really impressed me. It's a good team.
Right. All right. Let's move over to a team in their district, Grape Creek, 74-0 over San Angelo TLCA. Sire Garcia had 6 carries for 96 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I'm pretty sure the defense their entire defense played well. They had 2 pick sixes, I believe.
Yeah, 2 pick sixes. 2 pick sixes. I think they had a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
Ryan, that's how it's pronounced.
Yeah, and then I know they had at least 3 sacks. It was they were all over the place, and we couldn't just pick out one guy because everyone on that defense contributed, and they got a shutout. So,
right, and let's just go ahead and talk about Lubbock Monterey, the running backs, real fast.
Well, we want to give a shout out to Des Williams. He had 13 carries for 174 yards. Kyrie Baxter had 14 carries for 132 yards. And Deuce Moore had 9 carries for 91 yards against a pretty stout Coronado Mustang defensive line.
That's 400 yards on the ground.
So, I know that game ended up lopsided, but Nikki, you can chime in on this one. You were there. You're a Coronado alumni. I bet you it hurt a little bit to just watch these guys run all over your Mustangs.
Just a little bit. They're some pretty strong backs, though, man. There's a couple where they just broke free, and they won. I think Des Williams got a 34-yard back to the end zone. He just knows how to get around those defenders and take it to the house.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. I watched them play Odessa High. At Ratliff Stadium, and it was their backs were definitely the ones who stood out. It's every time they touched the ball, a big play could happen.
All right.
Yeah.
When we come back, we actually have an interview with some refs from the Concho Valley and some umpires, and we're going to kind of get into a little bit of football with them because they do extra sports. So, but before we do, we got to hear from Jim Bass.
$59,999 for a new Ford Expedition XLT. Get a full-size 3-row seating SUV for the family that needs a lot of room. Equipped with a moonroof, second-row captain seats, along with many more features, make it the absolute perfect SUV. You can only get deals like this at Jim Bass Ford, Houston Hart and Arden Road, or shop 24/7 at bassbunch.com, or use this QR code. Yep, the one on my shirt.
What's going on, everybody? James Bouligny here with Craig, Ricky, and Will. They are officials from the San Angelo chapter here. What's it called again?
We're the San Angelo Umpires Association.
Okay, Umpire Association.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
First off, how are we doing today?
We're doing great.
Doing good. Doing well.
All right, and we wanted to talk about getting some umpires out there on the baseball fields for these kids, baseball, softball fields, right?
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into it.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm Craig Coles. I'm the assigning secretary, and I'm also the District 2 representative for our TASO for baseball. I've been umpiring for about 15 years. I do both baseball and volleyball. I did 10 years of basketball.
All right.
I'm Ricky Salvato. I'm the chapter president for the SAUA. I'm, I guess, 9 years, almost 10 years in baseball.
Okay.
And 4 years in volleyball right now.
All right. Will.
I'm Will Doyle. I call baseball with these guys. I'm the vice president of the local board, and I also call football. So excited for Friday night tonight. So
there is a ref shortage going on, right? And we need refs for every sport across the board. How do people get involved?
Well, the first thing that they need to do is, one, have a passion for it. Like with any job, you have to have some kind of passion for that sport. And so if you have any kind of passion for any sport, and it doesn't matter what age group, from Little League all the way up to the collegiate level, we are needing officials in every sport across the state. If they reach out to taso.org, which is TASO.org, that is the high school chapters, they can apply to become an official, and then they can actually put which sport and which area that they want to cover in. So if it's somebody outside of our area, in the Albany area, Lubbock area, they can do that also.
Okay.
That's the easiest way. If it's something local that where you maybe not able to do high school, but you want to do Little League or the local soccer, we can have our information here in a minute. We have our email address, and we can put them in the right contact. But, like I said, today we really want to talk about umpires and baseball, and but we will be happy to help anybody to get into this business that we absolutely love.
Yeah. All right. Sticking to baseball, though, what do people need to do? I mean, how is there an age restriction? Is there, like you said, y'all have other full-time jobs and do this, right?
Sure.
So,
yes. So I actually work here at a church in town, and so as far as age goes, there's no age limit as far as how old you can be.
Right.
However, there is a limit for how young you can be. It's we actually had one for the first time in our chapter. It's called an auxiliary member, and basically it's someone who is under the age of 18, so 16 to 18, who can come on to the baseball field and umpire JV games only.
Okay.
And so we still get them in, and those officials we really encourage to get involved in Little League and stuff like that, so that they can get more games, because if they're just doing JV, they're not going to get as many. But yeah, and then just to piggyback off of what Craig said earlier, we actually have a website, sanangeloumpires.com. There's a tab on there that says Become an Official, and there's an interest form that you can fill out. And we really want baseball people, but if you're trying to figure out, hey, how do I get involved in water polo or something, you can fill that out, and I see those, and I can point you in the right direction. So.
All right, and it's for officials across the board. There's a shortage right now.
Correct.
And you said the games have actually gotten canceled because we don't have enough officials.
Yes, sir.
So what are some of the perks to the job?
Some of the perks of the job. One, I love baseball. I absolutely love baseball. I love volleyball. Those are my two passion sports. So I'm able to be around it. Of course, I'm pushing 50, so I can't play it anymore.
Right.
which is obvious, but I can get out there and still be around the kids. It's still a lot of fun. I love being around the game. I love being around the kids. I love being around the coaches. We get to talk to the coaches, get to talk to the kids, be out there, be around the game, and officiate. But also, one of the big things also is it's a brotherhood. It's a brotherhood and sisterhood.
I heard y'all talking to each other.
Yeah, I mean, we will. I've always said, with friends like this, I'll never need an enemy ever again. So that's the way, it's the way it is. But we absolutely, all of us can attest that we love this. We love doing it. We do it all the year round. Matter of fact, December is about the only month I'm not officiating some sport. We've had guys as young as 13 start out in the Little League, made their way up to 16, but he became a official, and he actually, that particular umpire is now going to be a collegiate umpire coming up this next season. So he's made his way all the way up from a 13-year-old Little League kid all the way up, and he's now going to be umpiring college baseball games next year. And so that's when, it's the fun of it. It's being around the game, being around the sport, and also having fun and also challenging yourself. It's a challenging sport. It's a challenge to all of them. To get into the rule book, understand what the rule book means, understand the different positions and why am I in this position? Why do I stand here? Why, you look at the professionals and why do they stand where they stand? There's reasons. And to understand that and get around it is the fun part.
Right. And obviously, there's a little bit of money that comes with it too, right? And there are games being played, like you said, Sunday through Saturday.
Absolutely.
Games all week long. So go make a little bit of cash while you're doing it, while you're doing something that you love doing, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. You can make, depending on what your schedule is, you're an independent contractor. You can sit there, and if you get off work at 3:00 and you're able to leave at 3, we can put you on a field by 4, 4:30, 5 o'clock, depending on how far you have to travel. Most of our games in our chapter are around the 90-mile or under range. So we get people out where they can call. If you have a day that you don't want to work for whatever it may be, then you can block that date off. And that way you're not going to miss a kid's birthday, wife's birthday, which is what I had last week. I missed a volleyball match because it was my wife's birthday. But that's the important thing too. So you're an independent contractor. And so depending on how much you can be out there, you can make anywhere from, $500 up to, $3,000 a month of just extra income coming in and doing this and doing any of these sports. And all sports are the same when it comes to that, about making a little bit of extra money.
Right. We kind of compared it to Uber. You can kind of turn that off.
Mm-hmm.
You can turn it back on and go out and
absolutely
and help out.
Absolutely.
Now I can already hear people saying, I don't want to do this. The kids' attitudes are terrible. And we kind of discussed that some of that's social media driven.
Right.
But they have putting something in to help implement to try to make it better. They put the 3-strike policy in,
right,
and it goes across all sports. And kind of talk about what that is real fast.
You want to take it, Will?
Yeah, so the 3-strike policy implemented by TASO says that across all sports within a school district, if there are 3 incidences that occur for one player or coach, that TASO, the Texas Association of Sports Officials, reserves the right to refuse officials at the sporting events in the future for that entire district. So whether it's a volleyball, basketball, baseball, track, whatever the sport may be, the entire school district is affected by the individuals on those each individual team. And so we've seen, I guess, a good way to say it is a thought process of integrity across the board, especially by coaches. As far as back in the day, I know a lot of people remember growing up that their coaches would just yell at officials or yell at them. We've seen that kind of relax a little bit, knowing that they've got to compose themselves and keep themselves accountable for their actions. But we as officials also want to encourage that type of behavior, so we have to model that as well. So we also do a program called the Texas Way as officials to hold ourselves accountable, to be respectful, to act with integrity, and to keep ourselves above reproach as well. So we've noticed a decline in, I guess, what people would call bad attitudes or bad actions. We still have those outliers where social media is going to highlight the big ones, right? But all in all, across the board, that doesn't happen that often anymore. We've seen a great stride forward with treating everybody with respect.
Right, and this is mainly just in the San Angelo area, the Concho Valley, right, where you've seen this all improve.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll give you just an example. The other day, I went to to a volleyball match that I wasn't officiating. I went to help a friend who was working with the new official. And I sent her a message on my phone because the newer official was having a little bit of trouble. I mean, he did fine, but he just needed a little help. It was his first game. And so I sent her a message asking her if she needed me to come help her. And she turns around and she says, yeah. So I get down from the stands and I go up. She's the official who's on the stand. We call the R1. And I said, hey, what do you need me to help him with? And she's just like, everything right now. And so I mean, a brief, like less than 10 seconds exchange. And I start walking to go around the court. And when I do, I nearly run into the admin at Brady. And he's like, can I help you, sir? You know, very stern. And the campus officer is just staring at me from across the way. And I said, hey, I'm an official. I came with her. I'm just here to help. And he's like, oh, man, I thought I was going to have to throw somebody out today. And you know, used to, we wouldn't see admin that quick to interact with somebody that's contacting an official. But he was, I mean, quick. And we appreciate that. So.
Right. I mean, shoot, even as media, I've seen that where I've walked up and hey, what are you? Oh, I'm with San Angelo Live,
yeah.
you know, and like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, I've talked to all these coaches too on the phone, so they know my voice. They just haven't maybe seen me yet. So.
Right. Well, and one thing I do want to mention, you know, these are all instances we're and you're going to see those incidences.
Right.
You're going to see them on every sport. You're going to have those bad incidences, but we had, as a San Angelo Umpires Association, we had close to 380 games, I think, last year, around that number, and we had less than 15 ejections. And most of those ejections, in all honesty, were not even arguing. It was because a kid ran through a kid or, you know, something like that. There were very few that were actual. So the number of incidences compared to how many are out there are very few. But, you know, one thing that we do as a chapter and all the other chapters do is that we do training. A lot of this comes from if you're a better umpire, if you're a better volleyball official, better football official, you know the rules better. You understand. Like you said a while ago, if that football official had been standing in a better position, he may have seen a better thing. So we do a lot of training throughout the state. Actually, the Tasso baseball board, we are now implementing where we're doing 16 two-man clinics throughout the state, and we're actually hosting one here in San Angelo. Another one's being hosted in Odessa, of where we can go bring guys from all over the state and teach them. And we have, you know, former major league umpires, college umpires that do Division I big games that they are there teaching us. Okay. And so the more the training we get, and also in that part of that training, we actually do training on how to deal with when that coach is mad. The coaches are going to get mad. The kids are going to get mad. The fans. But how do we handle it? How do we de-escalate that to where we can communicate with it, communicate with the players, communicate with the coaches? And a lot of that comes down to us and just saying, hey, coach, this is the rule. Remember, this is how the rule is worded. We may not agree with the rule, but this is the way it is. So the more that we do the training, the better it is. But in all honesty, you're going to see those on social media. You're going to see that the football official down in the valley that got hit, and you're going to see those. Bring that one up. Yeah, absolutely. That is a horrible, horrible experience for all the way across the board and everybody. Right. But the good part about that is there's more training that came from that. I mean, we've watched those videos. We've watched the videos of the Angel Hernandez. You know, that's what everybody always compares us to. Oh, you're the Angel Hernandez of San Angelo umpires. You know, we've heard, every single one of us have heard it. But in all honesty, that, you know, 99% of his calls were correct. You know, and when you go back and look at it, now, did he blow some? Absolutely. Have I blown some? Absolutely. We all have. But we get better at it. We learn from it. We learn, and that way we're better at it. We're in better positioning. And that's what we want. We want more guys to come out, more ladies to come out to umpire with us, to get better at it, to where we're out there in those games and we're helping these kids play a good competitive game. They're fun. It's relaxing to us. This is actually, I always tell people, I always joke, this is my relaxed time. This is how I relax, is to go on to a field. Right. Or go into a volleyball court. That's how I relax and enjoy my life, and or one of the ways. But to do that, and to come out there, I don't want anybody to sit there and say, well, I don't want to do any kind of officiating because I don't want to get yelled at. Yeah, you're going to get yelled at. You're going to have some things said to you. But but the overall majority of it, I filled out more good sportsmanship award last year than I filled out incident reports last year.
All right. So one more time before we wrap things up, how do people get in contact with y'all? How do they get a hold of of y'all's organizations to, hey, sign up?
So the best way to get a hold of us as San Angelo Umpires Association is to go to our website, sanangeloumpires.com, and fill out that interest form under the Become an Official or Umpire tab. We also have an email account, saumpires@gmail.com. We pretty much the entire board sees those, so we can communicate through that way. And we're always going to encourage you to go on to tasso.org and become an official through them, because before you can even call with us, you have to be a Tasso official. And right. so yeah, that would kind of be, I mean, if you want to come call baseball, which we do, we need more guys, and I really would love to see more girls come over to the baseball side of things. You know, it's happening in the major leagues right now. Mm-hmm. It needs to happen at the high school level. All right. You don't just have to do softball. But yeah, so we would love for people to come out, check us out, and like Craig said, we're going to train you. We're not just going to throw you on a field and say, hey, have fun. We're going to train you, and we're going to give you the tools needed to make you the best umpire or official we can.
All right. Well, guys, did I miss anything? Did y'all want to say anything else before we?
I want to encourage everybody, because we've all yelled at officials, including those of us standing up here before, and let that not be a deterrent to becoming an official. That's right. And so once you see it from a different perspective, there's a little bit more respect gained and appreciation, I think, as well. I even watch games differently now after having become an official, and understand that things happen in the flow of the game and things like that. And so I want to, again, encourage people. Just because we've yelled at an official at some point in our life doesn't mean we can't become one now.
That's right. All right. Well, guys, thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right. Back to you guys. The ArcLight Bar and Grill has the largest video wall in the region, and it's right there at San Angelo's #1 sports bar, the ArcLight Bar and Grill. Saturday's college game day was never this good. The ArcLight Bar and Grill inside the Clarion Hotel at 441 Rio Concho Drive. All right, let's talk about some college football real fast. We got Texas Tech. What do you say, Ryan? Before you go on a 20-minute tangent, though, let me remind you, keep it short.
No. All right, so this is basically going to be a Texas Tech season in review, because they are off.
No, I control the edit, bro. I'll cut you.
Anyway, the Texas Tech Red Raiders come off another Big 12 victory in which they outlasted an Arizona Wildcats team that they were beating pretty soundly, but 2 second-half turnovers from very rare fumbles from Taj Brooks basically allowed the Wildcats to climb back into this one. Texas Tech has basically built a reputation of being absolutely awful in Big 12 play on the road. Hey, but Coach Joey McGuire finally shook the proverbial monkey off his back and got a win on the road in Arizona. I think the final score on that one was 28-22. It really did come down to how well the Red Raiders played on defense. Jacob Rodriguez played well enough to even garner national attention. He got basically the linebacker of the week award, and it's basically a national award given out every week. And at the end of the year, they give it to the best linebacker in the nation. If he keeps playing like that, then he's going to be well up there. And despite 2 fumbles from Taj Brooks, he really came through in the end. He ran for over 100 yards again. He got in the end zone 2 times and was really the heart and soul of that Red Raider offense. If we want to look at it as a season in review, the Red Raiders have defied expectations since that loss to Washington State. Still not really being respected by the national media. I think they only received 7 ranked votes, and they're one of the only teams that have beaten 4 different Power 5 teams with winning records this year. And I say Power 5, it might just be FBS because I think Abilene Christian is included. But in fact, Arizona still got more ranked votes than Texas Tech, which is absolutely wild. But Nick, you're a fellow Red Raider, man. Just give me your overall opinion on how the Red Raiders have looked since that loss to Washington State.
I think they've looked phenomenal, honestly. That's defense is young. That's the only kicker to their team. I think this last game proved that they can still put something together and get some recoveries back there. The kind of coming up ahead though, they did pretty good. The only upset obviously was that Washington State, but it seems like the Red Raiders kind of are winning by almost a score, which is not a bad thing per se. But here coming up, they play Baylor as our Tech homecoming game. And pretty much our schedule looks really, really good. Iowa State's the only one that's kind of concerning, just being a ranked team. Colorado as well. And then Oklahoma State can kind of throw a curveball, especially it being up in Stillwater.
All right, Nick, before we let you go, this is your first year covering football, high school, and Tech. What are your thoughts about what you do now?
So this is definitely super interesting. This is not something I'm used to. I've worked in the restaurant industry for almost 8-9 years now, so this is completely a 360 for me. I do enjoy it though. Being in that atmosphere with the players, you're right there next to them, the band's in the background, just the liveliness, the environment. Now it's going to get cold here soon, but I'm enjoying the warmer weather as well out there. And then kind of piecing it all together and writing it up about the kids and how they perform. And it's something for them to look at maybe the next day or for the following week. I really do enjoy doing everything. And yeah, I think it's just a really good time. It's really, really fun.
Hey, you think it's intense now? You just wait till playoffs, and then eventually when we go to Jerry World.
I was about to say.
Oh, I'm excited.
You think it's fun, there on a high school sideline. Wait till you walk across the Star there on midfield at the AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
I can't wait.
Elevates it, man. It's so much fun. I didn't mean to run your final thoughts there, but our free meeting is almost over, and I just wanted to make sure you got your final thought before it ended. But let's get back to college football real fast. Angelo State's playing Texas A&M Kingsville. Paul, what do you say about this one?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's been a great rivalry for a long time, and both teams are 3-0 in conference. So the Rams are coming off the big win over UT Permian Basin last week, 36-7. I would not have imagined they would have smashed them like that. Now, of course, they knocked out the Falcons quarterback in the first quarter. That always helps. But the defense was still magnificent. Andrew Pitts, I think, with his 4th pick of the year already. He's just been ridiculous for them. This week, Kingsville and Angelo State handled them pretty well last year, by 22 points. But the Javelinas have obviously opened up really strong. ASU's head coach Jeff Gersh had great things to say about their defense. That they're pretty similar to the Rams. So it'll be another huge matchup. There's 4 teams left unbeaten in conference, and these are 2 of them right here in San Angelo on Saturday.
All right, Ryan, what do you say about that?
I didn't expect the ASU to handle UTPB like they did, but I'm all here for it. It seems like they've figured out whatever offensive woes plagued them in the first 2 games of the season. It seems like they've found a quarterback in Fuller, and moving forward, it seems like the defense has really remembered who they were almost, because like I said, this matchup last year was like head scratching and frustrating, and I didn't feel like the Rams should have lost to UTPB at home, so it was nice just watching them completely flatten their rivals there.
All right, let's move on to getting to the end here. Let's move on to our picks real fast. Ryan, you want to talk about San Angelo Central and Midland Legacy, because I know you do.
I mean, I'd rather talk about the overall standings and how Paul and I went 5-0 again and you didn't. But standings so far.
Are you proud of yourself?
Kind of. Like, this is my first year that I've been in first, okay? Let me gloat a little bit. But standings so far, I'm in the lead at 25-5. Paul's in second at 22-8. Lucas and Scott are tied for third at 18-12. Nick is in 4th place at 17-13. James is way down in like 7th or 8th place at this point at 500. He did get back to 500 though. And then of course Ernesto still bringing up the rear at 14-16. But for this Central Midland Legacy game, I guess the overall standings will shift after this week because we are completely split down the middle in this one. I'm, of course, going with the Bobcats. I always will. I do think that they're capable. They're just going to have to play good football. Along with me are Nick, Lucas, and Scott. They're all picking the Bobcats, while James, Paul, and Ernesto are going with Midland Legacy.
All right, moving on to Lubbock High and Lubbock Monterey, Friday at Lowry Field. Scott picked Lubbock High, and everybody else went Monterey in that one. Moving on to Miles and Albany. This one we're kind of split on. I think Miles is going to take this one. But Chadwick picked Albany, Paul picked Albany, Lucas picked Albany, and Nick, Ernesto, Scott, and myself, we picked Miles because the boys from Reynolds County are going to go up there and run this one. Chadwick, talk about Brownfield and Lakeview.
This one is really at no surprise. Everyone is rolling with the Chiefs. You got all of San Angelo back in you on this one. You even got Nick up in the South Plains pulling for the Chiefs. It's not that Brownfield's a bad team. I just don't think that they can quite match up to what the Chiefs bring to the table offensively. So all of us are going Lakeview this week.
All right. And
I lied. My bad. Lucas picked Brownfield. Lucas believes in the Cubs. That's on me.
All right. Forsan at Sonora. Everybody picks Sonora. Everybody thinks the Broncos are going to go get it done against the Buffaloes. Moving on to our final thoughts. Ryan, you want to talk about Midland High at Friendship, right?
Yes. So I just wanted to bring up one of the other big matchups in District 26A this week. Friendship's really become one of Central's new rivals. They play them close every year, and it seems like Central is always beating them, and they end up losing it to them in the end. But the Tigers played another monster non-district schedule. They've come out of this one really well. They're 4-1 on the year with wins over ranked 5A teams. I know you would like to see them play a couple more 6A tough opponents, but we'll really see what they're made of against the Bulldogs. I do think with their two really talented receivers in Chase Campbell and Leighton Stone that they do have in the advantage of this one. Holden Phillips is really has come into his own this year as a first-year starter, finding those guys in the open field. And with Leighton Stone, whenever you have a Texas Tech caliber receiver on your roster, you can't guard him. So I think Midland High is going to have to control the clock in this one, but I'm picking the Tigers.
All right, Paul, you want to talk about Ozona at Reagan County?
Yeah, I briefly mentioned them earlier, but just like Forsan Sonora could be a district title game, this could definitely be a district title game too. Both of them are off to 4-1 starts. Ton of firepower on the field, starting with the Ozona running back, Christian Villarreal. I mean, he crossed over 1,000 yards before we finished September. He's maybe the most dynamic player on the field, and that's saying something because you got the Brown brothers at Reagan County, Kaysen and Jarrett, and then you've also got Hudson Fowler, Ozona's quarterback, and Michael Daniels at receiver. So tons of weapons on the field. Should be a lot of fun.
That kind of leads into these are all district matchups now. So that's what we were talking about earlier in the show, was that first seed is going to be so important for some of these, teams in the Concho Valley, because like Miles and Albany, they end up playing Collinsville, Lindsay, Munster. They end up playing that district, and any one of those teams could be the first seed in any other district. So getting that first seed and playing that fourth team in that opening round is really important. So these district matchups really, really matter. You look at Ozona, Reagan County, and Forsan and Sonora. Those four teams are probably going to be the four teams that go to the playoffs out of that district. They end up playing Stanford, Cisco, Hawley, and Anson. I'm assuming Anson's going to be the team that makes that fourth. And last year, Sonora played them in the opening round, and it was a 28-27 game. So any one of those teams can be that first team. So that number one seed is so, so important to these teams in the Concho Valley to get. So you need to win these games. It's time to start playing your best football that you've played. That pre-district schedule's out of the way. That's where, even I know you want to win every game, but the pre-district schedule is, hey, maybe we can try this out and see how it works for a couple games. And if it doesn't work out, we'll go back to what we were doing, and then see where it goes from there. But now, hey, you have to have the best players at their best position to succeed, to play their absolute best, to try to get that first seed, because it's going to be so, so important. And it's more important for 6 because only 2 teams go. You don't have 4 teams making it out. So you look at districts like Very Best and Water Valley, Robert Lee, Erie County. All 4 of those teams are extremely really good teams. Only 2 of them are going to make it. They honestly might end up playing like the Jonesboro-May district, I believe. I know they played that last year. So Erie County made it as, I think, the first seed last year. And they ended up playing May, because Jonesboro beat May, but those 2 teams were, they're always in the conversation for state. and Erie County ended up getting beat by May because it was, and Wyatt Morris had like 9 touchdowns. So these first seeds are so important. These teams are gonna have to go out and play their best to win, to get that first seed. It's really important. And I ask any coach around, they'll say, hey, we're trying to go out and win this. So yeah, that's my final thought there, I guess. But anything
you're
else?
not wrong.
No, you do.
Yeah, like Central always runs into an absolute meat grinder with the winner of those El Paso playoff teams the last couple of years, because they get the 4th place, they get the 4th seed, and it'd be really nice if you could return to the era of 2012 to 2016 when they were always getting the 4 seed there. So I'm not saying it's a bye, but like you're playing a team that you're probably going to beat, so you can get ready for the DFW schools coming up.
Yeah, let's talk about the 4-team district. Lakeview's in a 4-team district.
Yeah, so they're going no matter what. So seeding's super important. Like, if you want to call it a season where, hey, we're going to make playoffs no matter what, like, I don't like that. Like, if you're in a 4-team district, you
That's
need to
a
try
loser
to
mentality right there.
Win that
to
district,
have that mentality of.
With that being said, Lakeview is very capable of winning their district this year.
Yeah, they're in there with Pecos and
Andrews and Big Spring.
Big Spring and Andrews, so they could very well go out and get that first seed and have and get a playoff win.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say, Paul?
Yeah, like you said, it's huge. It's one thing just to make the playoffs, but it's another to set yourself up to make a run, and you don't want that to come back to haunt you down the road because you didn't take care of business in district,
Right, yeah, no, and then meet back up in the 3rd round, with one of these teams that you'd be playing, week 1. Go meet up with them in the 3rd round, get a couple wins, and then get a couple playoff wins, and build your confidence, and make a deep playoff run. Because I've been down in Sonora the past 2 years when they've been practicing on Thanksgiving, and it's a lot of fun being down there. It's a lot of fun. The kids know what's at stake, what's on the line. So, but anyway, this has been Cover 1. I'm your host, James Bouligny, for Ryan Chadwick, Paul Harris, Nick Thompson. We'll see you guys at halftime, and then stick around for the post-game show where we'll have all our highlights and our coaches' interviews.